Ho sillios, yeah. So just recently I've been getting into collecting some of the Simpsons comic books. I used to get the Simpsons comic now and then when I was a kid, and I have these two Simpsons comic books here, which I've had since the early 2000s. Unchained and Madness. You can tell that I've had these since I was a kid by the fact that they're not in great condition, with these being packed away in my school bag at times, as well as going on a few holidays with me. I'm sure the Simpsons comics have a lot of fans, but they're not super popular, so the prices of them remain pretty cheap, which makes them kind of fun to collect. Unlike other things that I used to enjoy collecting, such as old video games, which are far too overpriced these days to be fun to collect anymore. I'm particularly fond of these book format versions, which collect several of the comics into one volume, with most of them having a certain theme which is not necessarily relevant to the stories within. Back when we were kids, my little brother also had the Big Book of Bart Simpson, which, as you can probably tell, was a collection of some of the Bart Simpson comics. Unfortunately, our pet rabbit, Fluffy, got into our bedroom a few times, and he liked to chew on wires and books, including several of our comic books. One of the victims of the Great Rabbit Massacre was my little brother's copy of the Big Book of Bart Simpson, which got chewed beyond repair. So since I've been collecting the Simpsons comic books lately, I thought it would be great to finally replace that one which we lost all those years ago. I ordered a copy from a seller on eBay and waited for it to arrive, only what I got was not quite what I was expecting. I recalled the Big Book of Bart Simpson being the same standard size as the other Simpson comic books, with some nice artwork in the back, which also showed you the covers of the comic stories within the book. But when I opened up the parcel, I couldn't help noticing the delicious ironing of the fact that this big book was so small. Plus the spine is this weird sickly green colour which I didn't recall at all. And then I looked at the back, and instead of finding the cool artwork I was expecting to see, I found all these words, which I'm not going to read because reading is for nerds, and I'm definitely not a nerd. Anyway, I tried to find out why this copy of the Big Book of Bart Simpson is so different by looking online, but I wasn't really able to find any information from the quick, lazy search I did in Google, which is why I wanted to make this video. Is there anyone out there watching this that knows why my Big Book of Bart Simpson is so small, and why the spine and back are so different? Perhaps this is just the standard thing they did. I'm not sure, I'm not an expert in comics, but it could be a really simple, boring answer like they simply reprinted them in a more compact format. I did notice this stamp inside of the cover, and apparently it looks like it used to belong to a school of some kind. So maybe it's a special printing for schools maybe, I don't know. Are there more like this then, if that's the case? Is this perhaps part of a set maybe? I have no idea, and I would love to get some answers to this little mystery. I did try and simply live with my little Big Book of Bart Simpson sitting on my shelf, but it just didn't look right, sitting there with all my other Simpsons comic books, especially next to the Simpsons Futurama crossover Crisis book, which is way oversized for some bizarre reason. So in the end, I ended up just buying another copy of the Big Book of Bart Simpson, which is much better, and is the correct standard size, feels and looks much better. I feel much happier now having this version on my shelf instead of the little Big Book of Bart Simpson. But as far as I can tell, the contents of the two versions appear to be pretty much identical, just different sizes. Anyway, sorry, this has probably been kind of a boring video about a subject which I'm sure nobody really cares about, but I just want some answers, damn it. I would love to hear your thoughts, opinions, or even actual facts about this little oddity, if you'd care to share in the comments. Thanks for watching this little video about my little Big Book of Bart Simpson. And all that's left for me to say now is, do not obtain a bovine, my sentient bipeds.